Welcome to the Master Cars Pro channel. Today we'll talk about the problems and weaknesses of Nissan GT-R. Many years ago, if you were interested in going fast in a car that had so much high-tech hardware under its purposeful skin that it looked like it might explode, you went automatically to preview or difficult to come by a car called the Nissan Skyline GT-R. In its many variants, it offered enormous speed and terrific commuting power at a price that undercut the finest offerings from Germany and Italy by a country mile, but its relative rarity in the UK was due to the import restriction that meant most of these cars were personally imported. The spiritual successor to these cars was the plain old Nissan GT-R, and when it was launched in this country in 2009, it was freely available to all and sundry from your local Nissan dealer. Like the previous car, it offered sublime speed and phenomenal performance at a relatively cheap price. It might not have looked as graceful as those European rivals, but under the skin it was dotingly clever. A 3.8-liter twin-turbo V6 engine gave initially 478 bhp, and though this four-wheel drive car with a dual clutch automatic gearbox was no lightweight, it could still rocket from 0 to 60 miles per hour in around 3 seconds and top out at around 196 miles per hour. In 2010, the power figure was up to an impressive 523 bhp, and in 2012 to a whopping 545 bhp. A special Nismo edition upped that even further to 592 bhp. Later editions of the standard car are good for a more than satisfactory 562 bhp. Trim-wise, there have been numerous attempts to add a touch of pizzazz to the GT-R's rather ordinary interior over the years. Even the current entry-level GT-R comes with 6 airbags, keyless start, 20-inch wheels, LED headlights, and parking sensors all around as standard, as well as an infotainment system with 11 speakers, DAB radio, and a SD-based satellite navigation. It's exactly the kind of generous kit offering commonly used to keep a car like this attractive as it gets a bit long in the tooth, which despite a couple of facefits, the GT-R undoubtedly is. The step up to mid-level trim actually looks a bit expensive, even if you find a used bargain, given that it only buys Recaro sports seats and a few other bits of cabin trim. The Prestige version is offered with extended black, red, ivory, or tan leather for a more luxurious flavor, while the Track Edition comes with forged wheels and reinforced body and suspension, and a carbon fiber spoiler. On the road, the GT-R in whatever version goes like Sting, with lots of drama, but not much sophistication. The engine is very vocal, but lacks the tunefulness of its rivals from Porsche and Ferrari. There's no arguing with its speed, though it's colossal. Approaching calmer, you'll find the GT-R's hydraulic power steering makes for plenty of weight and feedback from the car's helm, while sensibly paced to the steering rack makes it easy to place on the road. You can tackle all sorts of roads with confidence and composure, even if the handling isn't as sweety, balanced, or as delicate as that of Porsche 911. It's right, of course, a little rough, and it kicks up a fair amount of road noise too. The Track editions can be unbearably stiff. It's fair to say the interior of earlier cars was a bit of a disappointment, and evidence of the cost cutting that had to be done. to make this car so affordable. The driving position is fine and multi-adjustable, but the quality of the interior plastics and the layout of the dials and proliferation of buttons was a bit low rent. Later cars upped the game with more leather and nicer quality materials, but it still all felt a bit dated. The GT-R's infotainment system works through an 8-inch color display compared with the very best systems. It still isn't very sophisticated looking, it's somewhat slow to respond, and it lacks any smartphone mirroring or any app-based functionality. The rear seats themselves are big enough to admit a young teenager, but nobody bigger. Their Isofix child seat encourages in the back, making it realistic to carry younger kids and still leave decent room up front. The car's boot is a good size, wide enough for a set of golf clubs and deep enough for a couple of soft holdalls. It ain't gonna be cheap. The official fuel consumption for the GT-R was originally claimed to be 23.9 mpg with corresponding CO2 emissions of 275 gram per kilometers. Those cars registered before the tax changes of April 2017 came into force will pay their annual car tax VED on a scale related to those CO2 emissions, so expect a large bill there. So those registered after that date will pay the flat rate fee, currently £140 a year, plus a supplementary luxury car tax for cars costing over £40,000 new, which is currently set at £310 a year. Insurance costs likewise are top league, and servicing should be best carried out by a MEM dealer who specialize in GT-Rs, which means it'll be pricey. It'll need servicing every 12 months or 9,000 miles. Okay, this is supercar that'll be used by owners anxious to exploit all that potential. So check the bodywork carefully for any signs of damage. Have a good look at the alloy wheels and make sure they haven't suffered any curb damage. It's worth trying to find out if any of the car's mileage has been attained on a track. As such use can mean that it should have had more regular servicing. Always aim for a car with an average mileage for the year and a full service history with evidence of main dealer servicing. On the whole, owners praise their GT-Rs in long-term use, with few reported specific problems. It has a strong reputation for reliability, and the mechanical package is surprisingly robust. There are reports of a rattle caused by a mobile bearing in the flywheel shaft, which seems to affect all cars to a greater or lesser degree and is expensive to set right. Gearboxes in earlier cars had problems with the attached solenoids and could, in a few cases, need complete replacement. Check for smooth changes. Brakes, both pads and discs will need looking at say often wear out quickly, especially if used on a track. Nissan as a brand hasn't done so well in our most recently reliability surveys, and in the last one it finished in the 27th place out of 31 manufacturers. The GT-R is too rare a car for any specific data to filter through to the survey LAS. Which version to choose depends on budget, as the car has received a number of significant upgrades in its long life. It's monthly been a question of upped power and speed with every tweak, but the interior of later cars is certainly of a better quality. Buying used, we would stick with the basic car rather than seek out a potentially more expensive and much more uncomfortable version, and the same applies for the engine tuning, which is plenty good enough in the standard car. Our favorite in Nissan GT-R, 3.8 GT-R. Well, if you are the owner of this car, then please describe the problems that you had to face during the operation of the car. Perhaps it is your feedback that'll help viewers when choosing a car. That's it for today. Thanks everyone for attention. It isn't much work for you to subscribe to the channel. See you soon.